Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode corporate filings. Today we're diving into CYTOKINETICS' latest proxy statement. Don't worry, it's not about getting a government job filled. We will uncover why they want more stock and how executives are being paid. This document is essentially a notice to shareholders about the annual meeting coming up in May. It tells them what's on the agenda and how to vote even from their couch. The first item on the agenda is electing 3 members to the board of directors. These are John T. Henderson, B. Lynn Partial, and Muna Bunji. They're running for another 3-year term. Next, CYTOKINETICS wants to change their stock incentive plan. They want to add 5 million more shares for employees and set limits for how much stock non-employee directors can get, basically controlling their compensation. Then they need to increase the number of available common stock shares, the piece of pie, so to speak, from 1633 million to 326 million. This gives them more flexibility for future deals and company growth. The agenda continues with a vote to approve Ernst & Young LL as the company's accounting firm. This is routine, making sure the books are in order. The company is asking for a non-binding or advisory vote on how they pay their top executives, their named executive officers. This proxy statement is essentially a request from the board to get your vote. They want you to vote for these proposals. If you owned CYTOKINETICS stock on March 24, 2025, you get to vote. As of that date, there were about 119 million shares outstanding. If you have your own ideas for the agenda or want to nominate a director, you need to let the company know by December 11, 2025. Even though directors are elected by a simple majority. If a director gets more withhold votes than for votes, they have to offer to resign. CYTOKINETICS wants to increase the shares available in their equity incentive plan by 5 million and set limits on director pay. The company believes the current number of shares isn't enough for their future needs. They're gearing up for a potential drug launch and need to attract and retain talent, a difficult task. To avoid any appearance of conflict of interest, they want a hard limit on how much stock non-employee directors can receive annually. This is roughly $1 million per year. The planned share limit is also being increased from 26.9 million to 31.9 million. Here is a quick look at the stock awards outstanding. The CEO, Robert Blum, has over 1.7 million in stock options. Andrew Callos, the Chief Commercial Officer, has around 292,000. The CFO, Sun Lee, are more modest hand are 1,000 and change. These numbers are just stock options only, not the full picture of compensation. The board wants you to vote yes on this proposal. Without this increase, the equity program might not be competitive with others. Proposal 3 is to increase the number of authorized shares of CYTOKINETICS stock from 163 million to 326 million. Sounds like a lot, right? What's the deal with that? The goal is to give the company more flexibility for future financing, potential acquisitions, or even just employee stock plans. They are preparing for potential product launch, meaning they expect to grow quickly and want to keep their options open. CYTOKINETICS has an agreement to sell up to $500 million worth of stock through Jefferies LLC. More shares available mean they can actually do this. As of March, about 119 million shares are already out there. If the company issues a ton more stock, it could dilute existing shareholders, making each share worth less. This is always the trade-off with these proposals. The filing language includes this, and I quote, "The company would be able to use the additional shares to oppose a hostile takeover attempt or delay or prevent changes in control or management." Moving on, the fourth proposal is the rubber stamp to approve Ernst & Young or I as their accounting firm for next year. Audit fees were $2.22 million. In 2024, this is for making sure the books are legit, which is more than in 2023, where the cost was $1.8 million. All other fees are non-existent for 2024, while in 2023 they only spent $5,200. The audit committee makes sure EI is on the up and up and that all services are pre-approved. They do not just spend the money for no reason. Finally, there's the non-binding vote on executive pay, so let's take a look at this. Here is a look at the biggest names in terms of stock control. The Vanguard Group holds 10.1%, and the main person on the board, Robert Blum himself, has 1.4%. It's important for the CEO to have skin in the game. Here we get into the details of how the big dogs are compensated. The goal is to align executive pay with company performance, incentivizing them to act in the best interest of shareholders. It's nice to see that their compensation is mostly at risk, meaning it's tied to the success of CYTOKINETICS. They also use a compensation recovery policy. Robert Blum, the CEO, gets a base salary of $825,550. Andrew Kalos, the Chief Commercial Officer, gets $562,913. Not bad. And the CFO, Sung Lee, is at $550,000. They also get big chunks in potential stock options and incentives, all depending on how well the company does. And because corporate goals were achieved, Robert Blum is set to get a bonus of around $680,000. We see that Robert Blum also exercised the most options and acquired the most stock. The numbers are, to say the least, impressive. So what's my take on CYTOKINETICS? They're asking for more shares to fuel growth, controlling stock options, and are being transparent about executive pay. All seem like valid steps for a company looking to make it big. Of course, with all that cash, hopefully those high expectations will translate into a real payout. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your questions below.